Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's video, I'm gonna go kind of do a little review on my Harvey table saw. I've had this saw for probably about a year, maybe a little more than a year. I kind of wanted to do this video. Also have some upcoming things I'm gonna mention later in the video having to do with Harvey. So anyway, I just want to give a kind of an overview, give some specs for those of you that care about specs. If you don't, you can forward past that part. But just kind of a general overview of the saw and kind of my opinion on would I buy this again if I had the option. What the answer to that question is, and talk about some pros and cons. The cons definitely don't come anywhere close to the pro, but there are a few cons. For the way I work and my opinion of the saw, not necessarily for everybody. So let's get into it. Okay, so let me just start off by saying you're probably going to see some projects around. This is a working shop. For those that know who I am, I try to keep a nice, clean shop as much as I can.
I tell you the truth, you're a little OCD.
But you probably will see some mess thrown around here. But hey, this is an actual working shop. So let me just start out by giving you some of the specs for those who are actually interested. So one of the great things that I like about this saw, as most cabinet saws do, is you've got a pretty large depth of cut area here as far as where you can, how far you can bring back your stock before it gets to the blade. So you can see the overall table is about 31.5 inches deep. So that is a tremendous help when I'm cutting larger things like breaking down sheet goods that I didn't do with my track saw. I think it's a pretty, definitely a pro in my book. So obviously cast iron top, with the exception of this wing here. Now this is the way I bought mine. And I have the Alpha Series HW 110 LC 36P. So currently right now the price of that saw is typically $24.99, I believe is close to what I paid for it a year ago. Right now it is on sale on Harvey's site for $17.99. If you're interested in a cabinet saw, you can go check them out. I'll leave a link to their site in the description. But so that's definitely one of the good things about this. It does have a cast iron cabinet mounted trunnion.
Okay, what did you just say?
Open this up, and again, I try to keep things pretty clean. So cast iron cabinet mounted trunnion system, very, very smooth. It's got its own built-in dust collection here. Goes straight out to a combination port, which I'll show you in just a second, but it's a 4-inch port for dust collection. The motor lives here, and it just simply closes and tighten that down. It's great. So it's pre-wired for 115 volts. At 115 volts on this saw, you get, I believe it's 16 amp. I'll double check if I'm wrong. I'll correct myself in the video somehow. But I believe it's 16 amp, and it also can be wired for 230 volt, and I believe that's an 8 amp breaker. So that's definitely a good thing. I was already wired for 115, so I just left it that way, and I didn't change anything. This one does come with a, the one I bought is a 2 horsepower motor. It's a 10-inch blade, and the arbor speed on this saw is 3,850 RPM. So definitely some good things about this saw is this fence system here. This is their big T-square fence. It is a great fence. I don't ever use the low setting. It does have a high-low where you can loosen these bolts right here, and you can flip this out, pull it back, flip it down, and you can actually have a low fence. I never use the low fence. I always keep mine on high, so it really is no benefit to me, but it might be something you're interested in. The only thing I wish I would have done when I bought this saw is I wish I would have opted for this wing over here to be cast iron instead of this this, I don't know, composite material that it's made out of now. I would rather have the cast iron, and if I had it to do over again, that's one thing I would change. Something else I had to do to this master rip is I have these GSM stock guides, And because of this high-low fence system, there was no way for me to mount these without doing a little modification to the fence. I wound up having to put a piece of aluminum, as you can see there. The Jessamine Stock Guides comes with this piece here. I had to put a piece of aluminum to raise it up so this just barely clears this high or low fence when it's in the high position. Barely clears it. So I did have to modify that and drill into the fence to be able to mount those. So not a big deal. There is an issue with that coming up when I get to the cons, though, that we'll talk about. But comes with the rails. Obviously, this is a 30, I think it's listed as a 36-inch rip capacity. You can actually, and I have actually done 38.5 inches on this for a very specific project, and it actually worked. I did have to measure the last part myself, but yeah, it will do up to 38.5 inches. So it also has overhead dust collection. Obviously, it's laying here beside it on top of this little box I built. I don't use it very often, but it does have it. I typically keep it capped off with a piece of tape. So let me just drop down here. This is the 4-inch port, and then you will also see that smaller port that comes off the back. You could plug it there if you did not want to use this system at all. Would save you a little bit. You could use it there, but I do use it occasionally, especially when I'm cutting MDF. I do use that. So since we're here, we'll talk about these wheels. These wheels are also cast iron, very sturdy wheels. This one on the right hand side of my saw is for blade tilt. I don't ever use this gauge here. I have a electronic gauge that I use when I do this. So I can't even tell you how accurate that is because I have never used it at all. This is for raising the blade up and down. Very smooth action. Super happy with it. And then obviously this is for locking it down. On a side note, this is just my personal opinion. I always keep a tourniquet near any of my tools that can really bite you. I also keep one over there by my miter saw station as well. Definitely something you should look into. Okay, so let's move on to this. This also comes with the saw. This is the Harvey MG36 miter gauge. This miter gauge is absolutely wonderful. I absolutely love it. If you look on the back, it's got several positive stops on it. These little, can't even think of what they're called here. I'll put it up there. Anyway, all along the side for you. That way you can tension this in your slot and make sure you've got not so much tension you can't move it, but enough to where there's no slop back and forth. To move this thing, you just simply loosen this here and you can mash this button and you can get whatever angle you want up to 60 degrees on either side. That works great. These bolts here, loosen these, you can slide this whole system so you can actually put the blade or put the miter gauge on the right side of the blade if you choose to do that or if you have a need for that. It also has this extended arm here for cutting larger stock. Slide that out. Also has this nice little micro adjustment for your fence here. Put it wherever you need it, and then you can just dial in your micro adjustments here. Pretty good. I actually use that quite often. I use my miter gauge quite a bit. Now, if I'm not mistaken, when you purchase the saw now, you still get the compass miter gauge, but they have came out with a MG36 Pro miter gauge, which if you follow my channel, you're going to hear something about it in my next video when we talk about my next giveaway. But now you should get the Pro. There's a few changes on it. I haven't really looked into it a ton. What I do know is that there are a lot more positive stops on your angles, and I don't know exactly what those are. Forgive me for that. Okay, let's talk about blade height. Let me run this up. And it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get it up, and not a ton of turns. But when you have the blade all the way up with no sled or anything on it, you get a cut depth of 3 1/8 inches. So from the base here to here, 3 1/8 inches. And don't worry, I've unplugged the saw for all the safety people out there. And that's at 90 degrees. At 45 degrees, you get, I believe it's 2 3/16 depth of cut at 45 degrees. So a couple of things here while I've got this up I want to talk about. The only thing I think I am going to call this a con. Not that Harvey's going to see this video, but hopefully they will, and maybe it's something they can change. And maybe y'all have a different opinion. If you do, definitely let me know. But I personally like the zero clearance, and I use it probably 98% of the time because I don't do a whole lot of bevel cuts. So usually I have the zero clearance in, with the exception of when I swap out for my dado stack. So when you get the saw, unless this has changed, but when I got my saw, it did not come with the zero clearance. It came with the dado and your regular angle clearance. Me personally, I would rather it come with the zero clearance. It is an optional purchase you can do. I did buy mine from Harvey. You can make one, especially if you got a CNC machine. You could definitely make one of these, but they are quite expensive. I want to say I paid around $70-something, $77, $75 for the zero clearance insert. So just something to think about. But whenever you're ordering, if you want zero clearance, you might as well go ahead and order it. I have a CMT blade in here. I pretty much use these on everything except for my Capex. To get the riving knife out, it is so simple. Obviously, you don't want to take the riving knife out only in just a couple of situations, especially if you're doing your dado stack. You want to take your riving knife out. But if you want to switch from this to the guard over there, you do have to take this out because the guard with the dust collection actually has a riving knife attached to it. You just simply pull this little button out and then lift it out. It is that simple. Put it in, you just simply push it all the way down, flip that back, and it locks into place. Something I really like about this saw, the ease of the riving knife. Okay, I hope I don't make anyone dizzy. I didn't voice over all of this, so I kind of wanted to do it this way instead of doing the voiceover. Y'all let me know if you like this or the voiceover better. Doesn't matter to me either way. I can do it either way. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons. I will say, as far as pros go, pretty much everything on the saw to me is a pro. I'm not disappointed with almost everything about the saw. So let me just go ahead and go over the cons because I have about 3 cons, truthfully, about this saw. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I'm going to show you the video here that I recorded just a little earlier about the brake. So here is how long it takes once you actually hit the stop button for this blade to stop spinning. Harvey, if you do happen to see this, this is something I don't know how that works. I'm not an engineer, but it's something that's a concern of mine. This blade does take quite a while to actually stop spinning. So let me play that video for you now. You can see that as I'm doing this, I hit these at the exact same time. It's running at full speed, and you can see how long it takes to stop. For me, that's way too long. My personal opinion. I don't know how it compares to other saws because I do have this saw, but to me that's just a long time, I think. So that I put in the con bracket because I would rather see that stop a lot sooner than that. Even if I had the option for a manual brake, a foot pedal similar to the bandsaw or something. I don't know. So I don't know if there's a fix for that, but that's just my opinion. So another con that I have, I'm going to see if I can turn the phone back around here. So another con that I have here is actually fence stability. So I've got mine pretty dialed in as far as movement goes, but let's just say once I lock this down, and I will say I didn't throw this in as a con, but it does stink, but this thing sticking out when you're trying to walk by it, especially for those of us that are male.
Oh my God, those are the nuggets.
This poses a problem sometimes. But as I'll mention in just a minute, there's a solution for this. So fence is locked down. Here is my problem. I don't know if I can pick it up on camera or not, but there is slight give on this fence at the far end here. So that is definitely a con. I will tell you that there is a fix for that. I'll mention here at the end of the video. So looking forward to that. The only other con I have is with these sight glasses here. So I can't say that they listened to me and fixed these things because my video is coming out after they announced the other one. So anyway, My only issue with these is if you do get this fence system is if you're not careful, these can get loosened up, and these actually move for adjustability for you to zero them. But they can get loose if you're not careful, and you could wind up with the wrong measurements on your cut. Now, for me personally, I don't worry about that. Typically, I use setup blocks at the actual blade and fence anyway, so not a huge deal for me, but anyway, I put it in the con section. So, and the reason I'm doing this and saying that there's a fix is because I don't know what Harvey's intentions are going forward, but what they have come out with, they announced at the AWFS show in Las Vegas this year, is the Big Eye fence system. And now they're not shipping until next month. I guess it starts tomorrow. I'm not sure when they're going to ship it, but I have pre-ordered the Big Eye Harvey fence. It's actually amazing. I hope, if everything is the way they say it is, it has actually fixed everything that I have as a con as far as the fence goes. So the new fence will have a crystal sight glass, and it's not movable. I'm sure you can adjust it to zero, but it's not movable like these. Won't accidentally get loose. They also have a dual locking system. Whenever you lock it down on the one end, it locks on the other rail as well. So there's not going to be any deflection, which is pretty awesome. And then that pesky crusher there, they actually have moved up to the end on the top of the fence, so it no longer sticks out from the side. That is awesome. So I'm looking forward to getting that. I'm definitely going to do a review on it after I get it. Hopefully it'll be here soon. They said October is the ship date, but they didn't say exactly when. So hopefully that comes in pretty soon. I can already tell you one con, having talked to Harvey and about it, and I already know I'm not going to be able to mount my JSM stock guides on that fence. I'm a little upset and disappointed about that, but once I get it here, we'll see if there's a fix for that. There might be, because it does have a little rail system on the top, but Harvey's telling me that the stock guides won't fit into that rail. So, and I'm sure they're right, but we'll see when it gets here what I can do to make it work, because I love my stock guides and I use them on nearly every single cut that I do. That's really all I've got. So the big question is, would I buy this saw again? Yes, absolutely, 100%. When I was looking at this saw, I was going back and forth between this saw and the comparable version from SawStop. And quite frankly, I'm a different person, I guess, when it comes to safety. I'm like super safety conscious.
Safety first. That's my motto.
So I just kind of, and I know I'm probably going to stir up some hornets here, but this is just my opinion. This is the way I looked at it when I was going back and forth. And yes, I know a finger costs more than a couple $1,000s, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Okay. So no need to comment that, or you're welcome to. It's engagement. Go ahead. But anyway, it was about almost $2,000 difference in the comparable saw from SawStop. And where I think that technology is great in a setting not my shop, I don't have any employees. It is just me in here working. So I'm not concerned with someone else getting harmed by one of my tools. Now, if I had employees, I probably could see going the direction of a SawStop and having that technology, but I don't. It's just me. So comparing apples to apples and looking at the price, I didn't need that technology. And to be quite frank with you, I would be the person who screwed up and kept having to buy the cartridges because I put something wet or found a piece of metal in there anyway and wound up tripping the system, and I'd wind up spending a fortune on cartridges and blades. So anyway, that's why I went with this. So if you have any questions, please throw them down in the comments, and we'll see you on the next video.